Davion, this one was back and forth until the fourth where they pulled away. What was the turning point?
Yeah, I think we went back and forth. We went up 5 a couple times, and we always end up giving up an awesome offensive rebound. It kind of lead to him going on a run. So I think it kind of turned around in the fourth when he got a couple offensive rebounds. They got an open three, and they just kept pushing.
You know, they were able to push offensively there for you guys. I believe it was 19 points in the fourth quarter. What can you guys do to steady the offense and get more consistent production?
Create for one another. First, we got to get stops and get out in transition to make it easier. I feel like there was a lot of times we was playing half-court defense, and they got a really good half-court defense, especially with all the – I think they were like first in deflections in the league. So, I mean, they're really handsy. So, find ways to get stops and get out and run.
Obviously, emotional moment there in the first quarter for you guys when you see Nico go down. What was going through your mind when you saw all of that unfolding?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't know what happened. I mean, hopefully he's good. I mean, we all praying for Nico. He's our brother. I mean, honestly, I just didn't want nothing really bad to happen. Honestly, it was kind of happened so fast. It was a shock, honestly. But, I mean, I hope he's okay.
And for you guys now, you know, obviously riding a 5-game losing streak, heading on the road here for 3 games. So what do you guys have to do to get back in the win column and start getting back to the winning ways?
Play Miami basketball, get stops, kind of make that our identity. I think a lot of times, well, especially beginning of the year, we hung our hat on just trying to score a lot of points, score more than everyone, and we got to get back to who we are, and it's getting stops and making it harder for teams to score. And offensively, it'll come. Even if we don't score and we get stops there, I think we end up pulling those wins out because, I mean, I feel like transition, no one can really stop us.
Bam, you've been through tough times here before. Obviously, last year, the 10-game losing streak, you guys found your way into the playoffs from there. What's the level of concern now on this 5-game losing streak, and what do you sort of see it tying it all together?
It's that defensive end I'm really worried about. Even if we don't score 140, if we score 96, we can still win. And, you know, that's obviously got to be a collective thing, and, you know, understanding everybody has to be on the same page. And I got to make free throws.
Maybe obviously a scary situation there with Nico, and even when he was walking off, he was still smiling, he was still laughing. Apparently he was laughing while he was on the ground when you guys were watching. Can you just talk about the initial reaction from yourself? The x-rays did come back negative.
I mean, I was just impressed that he actually tried to dunk it. Usually Nico tries to lay that up. But once, you know, you see guys start waving to the trainers to come get him, that's when you start to, you know, have worry that he's really in bad shape. But, you know, Nico's a warrior. You know, I always say he got that tough Serbian blood in him. So for him to smile, obviously, is a great sign. He's in great spirits, and we wish we could have got that win for him.
Bam, you guys have played recent matchups over the last 2 weeks. You played a number of pretty good defensive teams. They run different schemes, but have you noticed a theme other than, I know some threes aren't falling, but any theme within why the offense has maybe struggled a bit to get as downhill as you guys want it to?
I really think we overthink our threes. Sometimes I feel like we just be too open. And sometimes we double drive and drive right into traffic. You know, but a lot of this can get figured out, you know, just watching film and getting back to the drawing board and the basics.
Norm, obviously, another loss here. First time, I think, this season where you guys score under 100 points. Can you kind of just talk about what Toronto did to you guys defensively and just overall, just kind of on the losing streak still?
They were physical. They're top, I think, 2 team with deflections, and they were just physical in the body. Being in the gaps of help made it a little difficult. Throughout the course of the games, we found moments to, get them in rotations and movements. That was our best offensive stretches when we went up, I think 11 or whatever in that first half. But they're physical, they're rotating, they're using their height and length. But I thought we just got to take those moments where we had them in rotations and expand it throughout the course of a 48-minute game of a good offense, ball moving, body movement.
And just obviously, I know it's your first season with Nico, but seeing obviously that scary situation, he did the fall and just laughing and smiling on the way out, obviously looking like a scary situation. Can you just kind of talk about just seeing from him and your initial reaction to it?
I mean, it's tough. I didn't know what he hurt at first because it looked like his tailbone when he fell, and then going over there seeing the puddle of blood coming from his arm. Then you start thinking, that he broke his arm, but luckily he didn't. But I think just being in good spirits about it is always good. He's always really positive around to be around and things like that, no matter what he's going through. So hopefully he can bounce back quickly and he gets some good news from the docs, and he'll come back in a few weeks being able to help us.
Norm, I know percentages are just percentages sometimes, but over the past 2 weeks, opponents have pretty regularly outshot you guys from three. Have you noticed both the shots you're getting and shots you're giving up, has there been any difference from the earlier month?
Earlier in the season, we were able to get whatever we wanted because they didn't know our offense, our system. We're doing a good job moving the ball, trusting one another, finding open, good looks. Right now, I think just the offense is slow because they're, denying us, and we don't have as much ball movement and body movement that we need to have. Like I said, we find it throughout the course of games, and it's good for a couple minutes. Then when it gets a little tough, we kind of take on the role of trying to do it ourselves rather than continuing to work the game. Something that we continue to get better with. Watch film, see the moments where the offense was really humming and cooking. I think it really starts off with us getting stops, with us having to take the ball out the basket. We're allowing defenses to get set up and that physicality to take us out of what we want to do. So if we're able to get stops, rebound the ball, and get out in transition, I think our shooting percentage and the shots we're going to be able to get starts to click the way it was at the beginning of the season. And I think the opponents are shooting the ball well because in those swing moments or when they are offensive rebounding, they're kicking out and having us in rotations and getting wide open looks. So it's something that we got to shore up on the defensive end. Once we play good defense, 23 seconds, whatever it is, we got to secure the ball and get out.
Norm, being around as long as you have, did you sort of expect this would happen? Teams catch up, teams scout, teams plan. So how confident are you that there's a plan B now for you guys to sort of beat the scouting?
I'm really confident. Coach won't rest. The coaching staff won't rest until we get this right. We're not going to quit. We go through tough times. We're built on it. They're built on it. But it's going to be on us. It's going to be on the guys stepping on the floor and having that identity of who we're going to be every single night. And it's going to have to start on the defensive end. Like, scoring 140 is great. I told the guys after the game, like, scoring 140 and everybody being proud of what our offense is and what it looks like and how different it is from previous years and things like that. It's great at the beginning of the season. But who are we going to be when we have nights like this, consecutive nights like this, and it's going to be a team that has to hold their hats on the defensive end, whether shots are going in, whether you're getting your looks, whether you're getting your average, whatever it is. Like, we have to have an identity defensively, collectively. It's not one person that has to be better. It's all of us. All of us have to be better. All of us have to sacrifice, and it's going to have to be sacrifice on the defensive end and doing what it takes to get stops and get our offense and just everything back clicking and flowing. But we got to be a defensive first team. And I think we shifted a little bit because our offense was so great. We thought, well, we can just come in and score and everybody's going to get their shots and it's going to be great. But teams are adjusting, so now we have to really adjust. It's still early. We still got time, but the identity of who we have to be is going to be a defensive Miami Heat team.
On that note, you mentioned getting stops and getting out in transition. Bam's talked about maybe teams are picking you guys up higher up or quicker in the offense to kind of stop you getting in transition. I guess what are the things you guys are seeing differently in transition specifically? I guess what are the ways you kind of see being able to beat it?
They're picking us up higher, so we got to be. If they're gonna do that, we got to sacrifice and spread our offense out. The way you beat pressure is by spreading it out. Now you make the floor bigger. Now they got to be in rotations. If they're not gonna deny, then we got to back cut and open it up for other guys to get them in rotations. Like I said, I think a lot of the time when we're moving the ball, we're standing. Even if we swing the ball, we're standing. There's no somebody cutting. There's no movement off of that. And now it's all the pressure is on the guy that has the ball to create the action, rather than the off-ball guys creating the action and putting teams in rotations. I think we haven't put opponents in rotation enough, especially in this losing streak that we're on right now. I think that's the main thing that has to change. We got to be able to read the game and continuing to move defense, make them change sides of the floor with their off-ball action.
Any particular thoughts on sort of the overall flatness of the night, especially coming off 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case that there was flatness on both sides. I mean, we pushed to a 5-point lead 10 times during the course of the game, and we just could not, other than that first quarter, we could not get it to a double-digit lead from there. It felt like every time in the second half we finally would get it to a 5-point lead, they would go on an 8-0 run or 10-3 run, and then take the lead and start to take control. There wasn't a whole lot difference, in this game for either team. It's just about in those moments of truth, finding a way to win those moments, and they won the moments, there in the fourth quarter, particularly when we were up 5, and then they were able to push it to a 10-point lead. But it was two teams competing and going after it. They made more plays in the moments of truth, than we did. And if seasons get like this, and you just have to, stay together and get back to work. We did a great job getting to the free throw line. They won the 3-point line. That's really been a few games in a row where that's happened.
Coach, obviously a scary situation there with Nico, and even then going out of the court, he was still smiling through it all. And can you just kind of talk about just the reactions there and just
crazy Serbian. I couldn't believe he was smiling. He was laughing when we all went up to him. I think that was his way of just lightening. He probably saw the look in all of our faces. It was a hard fall. Hopefully it looks like we dodged a bullet on that one. He came down really hard and split. His elbow open, so it was bleeding. But the scan came back, negative, which was a good thing. But that'll be sore, for a while. We'll get an MRI tomorrow just to make sure there wasn't anything else that we saw. But the bones are fine. He lost all feeling in his hand, because it was a massive stinger. But like I said, hopefully we dodged a bullet.
Overall, probably a solid defensive night, but you only had 10 points in the paint in the first half, and it eventually opened up. But what were they doing just to kind of keep you guys?
I mean, that's what they do. They really protect the paint. We've faced more teams that have stayed at home on a 3-point shooting. They were swarming the paint, and there's a reason why they're first in deflections. I mean, every time we drove, if we had an opening for a second, they had their hands, on it. And they swarmed the paint, forced you to have to make quick decisions as you'd kick the ball out. We missed some moments on our drives. But again, it didn't have to be a pretty game. It wasn't aesthetically a pretty game for them either. I mean, we had them, to low 100s. It was in the 90s going down the stretch. But they were able to make more plays.
Tyler was listed as being probable or available all week. What changed just before the game?
Yeah, he and the trainers met, and he just didn't feel right. They didn't feel right about it. We'll reevaluate him tomorrow and see what the next step, or where he'll be tomorrow.
Just look at some of the transition stuff. Bam's kind of talked about the adjustment has been picking you guys up quick, like higher up in the full court, just kind of stopping you that way. What else do you see as maybe leading to less of the transition opportunities?
It's a little bit of everything. Teams are more aware of it. I think we can still, get more opportunities. Part of it will be, some of what they did, with deflections, steals. All you need is 4 or 6 more that changes the whole deal. I'm talking about 4 or 6 more points that might come off of your defense, where it doesn't always have to come off of a rebound. But more, momentum going to the rim, where we're not running to a 5-out. But that takes intention, takes effort, to do that. We had, a handful of really good ones, and that's typically what happened. We had somebody, going to the rim that forced attention, and then you just make the appropriate play from there. Thank you.